Okay, let's get started. Welcome to Bryer's Music Showcase. I'm Bryer and welcome back to another video. And as you can see, there has been some changes going around at, I can't really say it's a studio, it's still my bedroom. But there has been major changes this whole week. Me and my brother, we've pretty much redecorated the whole room, and so now I am kind of changed my background. Now you can kind of see some of the CDs behind me, and I got a table now, so that'll be handy. And yeah, there's still some things maybe will change as time goes on, but I'm pretty happy on how things are looking at the moment. So in the comments below, you can let me know your thoughts on this whole scenery here. We'll take some time to get used to. I'm using this mic this time. I'm usually using a clip-on. So you can let me know which one you prefer. Do you want me to have the clip-on, or do you think I should continue using this kind of snowball mic right here? But I'm definitely looking forward to what's to come. I definitely am looking forward to the next step in this channel, shall we say. But I thought the best time to kind of showcase the new background is by doing my usual CD haul for November. And you might see a little bit, but I did buy quite a bit over the month. Not as much as usual. I think it's like just below 30, I think. So it's gonna be hopefully it won't be as long as I usually do, but still, got some good stuff in here. So as usual, if you enjoy these videos, please give it a like, subscribe if you are new, and of course, if you watched many of these before, you know that these are just my first impressions, because a lot of the time I only have time to listen to each album once, and so who knows, if there's an album here that I'm not a fan of, who knows, maybe down the line it could change, but only time will tell. But like I said, these are my first impressions. Without further ado, let's get started. So getting us started, we have a melodic death metal album, and some of these I've shown before in my the most recent record store finds video. And Arch Enemy are a band I've heard of for quite some time. What kind of makes them different than most other death metal bands is that it's actually fronted by a female. Again, stereotypically, it's usually a male, but again, you have a female singer here. And I thought, give it a try, because again, death metal is a genre I haven't really delved too deep into. I like some of it, but it's definitely an acquired taste still, which is shocking because I listen to black metal. But regardless, this is an album. This is called War Eternal, by the way, and of course, melodic death metal, as it suggests, is death metal, but has more melodies or have a melodic tone, which to me is really beneficial for the music. And I think it's a pretty solid album. This came out in 2014, and I believe, if I remember correctly, this is the first album with their, current singer. So definitely a nice introduction, I think. I could check out more in the future, so if there are Arch Enemy fans out there who know more about this band than I do, then please let me know in the comments below. Again, the playing is really good. There's some good guitar work on this. Definitely have a more thrash sort of feel, and I do like the vocals. I think the vocals were very solid, and yeah, overall, not much to say, but as a newbie to death metal, I quite dug this one. So again, down the line, there could be more in the future, so only time will tell. Next up, we have a band called Moxie, and this is their first album, their self-titled album. And the reason why I came across this album is because pretty much this whole month I've started getting into a bit of Tommy Bolin. Of course, I knew him from Deep Purple on Come Taste the Band, and I checked out his 2 solo albums and very much impressed by him. And based on some research, he actually appears on this album. Now, he wasn't a full-time member, he was just a kind of a guest musician. From what I gathered, one of the members, the main guitar player, had kind of got into argument with the producer, so the producer kicked him out. And so they brought in Tommy Bolin to fill in some guitar solos here and there. And forgot how many songs Tommy's on, but still, guitar playing on this album is really top notch. And even the ones with Tommy and even the songs without Tommy are really good. A good kind of more hard rock album. I think I pretty much enjoyed pretty much the majority of the album. You have Fantasy, Sail On, Sail Away, Moon River, Moon River, or Moon Rider, I should say. This text, I swear. Time to Move On, and the closing track, Out of the Darkness into the Fire. It's a very solid album. Again, I don't have much to say, but if you like some hard rock and you like Tommy Bolin, hey, this is definitely one to check out. So this was a nice addition. And now we have a band called Television, and this is their first album called Marquee Moon. So this is another album that kind of gets brought up from time to time. They're kind of like a post-punk kind of, punk rock, a bit of art rock even, a little bit of new wave. It's a weird mishmash of genres, and to most people, this was kind of an innovative album for the time, kind of one of those like cult classics, because I'm not sure how many people know of the album in the general scheme of things, but I've heard it get brought up from time to time, and I wanted to check it out. And yeah, this is pretty good stuff. I don't know if I love it quite yet. Again, these are my first impressions, but based on the first listen, I'm definitely liking what I'm hearing. I think the music is pretty cool, some good instrumentation, the vocals pretty solid. Again, I pretty much enjoyed the majority of the album. See No Evil, Venus, the title track, Guiding Light, Prove It, even. It's just a very interesting album. Again, this could be an album where maybe sometime down the line I can see it being even higher. Who knows? Only time will tell, but based on first impressions, we're on a good positive note. And now we have the long-awaited comeback from Linkin Park. This is their latest studio album, From Zero. And of course, there was a lot of hype with this album when it was first announced. Of course, they have a brand new lead singer with Emily Armstrong, who of course is filling in the shoes for Chester Bennington. And of course, I was definitely in on the hype because I did a video when I reacted to the first single, The Emptiness Machine, and I was pretty impressed on what I heard. And I said in that video that there's a chance that won't be my favorite song on the album, because I feel like there are other good stuff cooking here. And I will be honest, I did not listen to any other singles. I know they released a few more singles after that one, but I purposely did not listen to them because I wanted to be surprised when the album dropped. And I bought it. It's in the slim case here. And after giving it a listen, I can happily say I was pretty impressed. I definitely dug this album quite a bit. Of course, From Zero, if there's some context to that, and that's because Zero, I believe, was one of the original names for Linkin Park before they settled on their current name. So it's kind of going back to basics, or going back to their roots in a sense. But going back to the music, I think it's very strong, a lot of strong material. You start with kind of a short intro type piece, but then you get to The Emptiness Machine, which again, I reacted to that one and I thought was a good song. Cut the Bridge, pretty decent song, not my favorite song on here, but from that point onward, every song on here is really good. You have Heavy as the Crown, Over Each Other, Casualty, Two-Faced, Stained, Good Things Go. Yeah, it just shows that they still got it. And Mike Shinoda, who is still doing his rapping thing, it still sounds like good old Mike as we know him. And I gotta give props to Emily Armstrong. I think her vocals are really great. They definitely do fit the band quite well. And I will be honest, when I was listening to the album, there were moments where I'm listening to it and I definitely was hearing a bit of Chester there, where it sounds like Chester could easily sing the song, and so there's a bit of an emotion to that one, but that's not taking away from Emily at all. She did a fabulous job here, and I see this album as kind of a good, kind of a good start piece with this lineup. I also got to point out this album is actually very short. It's like just barely a half hour. So I can definitely see this as an album where they can definitely keep, expanding upon. But overall, very much happy with this album, and definitely a good return for Linkin Park. And now let's get to some progressive rock here. We have Jon Anderson with his first solo album. We have, hopefully I say this right, Olias of Sunhillow. So of course, Jon Anderson, best known as the founding member and lead vocalist for the prog band Yes. And this came out in 76, I believe. And this was during a time where all the members basically did solo projects. And you have Jon here. And I heard a lot of great things about this album in particular. Of course, I do own another Yes solo album. I have Chris Squire's Fish Out of Water, and that was fantastic. And so, might as well check out Jon. And overall, pretty impressed by this one. Again, this could be an album that needs more time, needs more listens, I should say. The playing on here is really nice, very pleasant. I like the vibe he's going for. And what's even cooler is that Jon actually does all the instrumentation on here, which is pretty mad, I must say, but still very cool. If I remember correctly, I can't remember, but I think this is a concept album basically. Does have some kind of a story or a theme here. I forgot. I'm blanking on the actual theme, honestly, but still interesting. A lot of good lush production on here. Definitely fits the theme on what Jon was going for, and of course Jon's vocals sound very good still. Definitely a nice pleasant listen. Again, definitely needs more listens, but so far, again, another positive feel on that one. And now moving on to more Jon Anderson. I talked about his first album. Here is his latest solo album. We have True, which came out earlier this year. I should, of course, to specify, it's Jon Anderson and the Band Geeks. The Band Geeks are a different band, but they're kind of like the backing band for this album. Honestly, I did not expect to be buying this album, but many people have said this is a terrific album for Jon this late in his career, because I know he's in his mid or late 70s at this point. And many people said this is basically like classic Yes. And after giving the album a listen, I fully agree with it. It has all those Yesisms, if you will, the guitar work, the keyboard playing, the bass playing even. It's just very, very true to what Yes sounded like back in the 70s. And even Jon's vocals, like, again, it's very late in his career, but he proved he can still do it. Album cover notwithstanding, but that's just a minor thing to me. And I know that the Band Geeks, one of the members is actually a member of Blue Oyster Cult currently, which is kind of cool. Yeah, again, every song on here I pretty much enjoyed. Again, has some great epic tracks, but also some nice shorter tracks as well. It's a nice kind of good old, I guess to older fans might be nostalgic, but to me it's just great music, honestly. So this was a very pleasant surprise, so I'm very glad I actually was able to get my hands on this one. But yeah, the Jon Anderson, True. That's, yeah, definitely a true gem right there. Okay, I talked about a gem, now let's talk about a dud. We have Sonny Bono with his first and only solo album, Interviews. So of course, Sonny Bono, as most people know him as the other half of Sonny and Cher, of course, known as the big songwriter and also the big business guy of the duo. And I guess in 1967, Sonny thought he was good enough to make his own album. And yeah, it's an album, alright. Yeah, I'll tell it how it is. This was not that good. The big problem is that, and it goes without saying, Sonny cannot sing. And when I say that, when he was with Cher, it sounded fine because they actually complement each other fairly well. But the thing is, when Sonny's by himself, I can only take so much, and it can get grating after a while because he has that very high nasally voice, like it's not quite like Bob Dylan, but almost shockingly worse than Dylan, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's kind of this weird psychedelic folk album. To me, it just does not work. I mean, the first song, Just Sit There, is this, like, I forgot how many, it's like over 10 minutes, I want to say, of this constant melody, and of course Sonny's vocals just absolutely killing me. I actually have a good reenactment on my first impression of hearing the song, so check it out.
And white as night, smell the air, it's real uptight.
And the rest of the album doesn't fare any better. It's a drag to listen to. And yeah, I just got it because, you know, last month I bought All Man and Woman. And so I have one bad thing from Cher, so might as well get one bad thing from Sonny. But there you go, another weird addition to my collection. And now we have some Slayer. So it's been a bit since I've talked about Slayer. I do have Rain and Blood, that's their big album. And this album came out in 1988. This is called South of Heaven. And I have a weird, complex relationship with Slayer. I like them, but I would never say they're like a go-to band for me. I gotta be in the right mood for it because I'm not quite into their version of thrash, this very all fast all the time and just barely lights up and not many melodies to it. There are some melodies on this album, but I don't know, kind of spotty. Starts good with South of Heaven. The title track's good. Live Undead's pretty good. Mandatory Suicide, quite a title, but I actually like that song. Then you have Cleanse the Soul. Then Spill the Blood's actually pretty good. But then there are times where the album does kind of feel samey after a bit. Again, not bad, but I still wouldn't say Slayer is a go-to band. And another thing about this album is that there's a cover of Judas Priest's Dissonant Aggressor, which, I don't know, to me pales in comparison to the original. The original is just top tier, but I mean their version's okay, but not really something to write home about personally. So again, solid album, but again, still not quite fully hooked on Slayer. And now we have the first solo album of Roger Daltrey. Of course, Roger Daltrey of The Who. And the reason why I got this was because, again, I've talked about this many times, but roughly a month. We're overdue for it by the time I'm recording this, but of course me, Jason, Adam, and Nick get together on Jason's channel, Jason the Old Millennial, and we all assign each other an album, and we all give it a listen, and we talk about it like a book club. And this was Adam's pick, this one here. So I'm not going to really give my thoughts on it, because I want to save it for that. So again, make sure you go to Jason's channel and subscribe to him, just so you'll be ready when we do that eventual album exchange. But yeah, just want to show this off still. And now we have a band called Public Image Limited. What's notable about this band is that this is the band formed by John Lydon, or commonly known as Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols. This is basically the band he formed after the Sex Pistols went under. And this is their album called Album. That's literally what it's called. You probably look at it and think, that's not an album, it's called Compact Disc. Well, when they released it on CD, they decided to call it Compact Disc. Go figure. I heard good things about this band, and after giving this album a listen, I'm not quite fully hooked on it. It's fine. It's got like an 80s I don't know, like it has a rock sound, but kind of a commercial sound. It's fine. I like it. I don't know. Didn't quite blow me away. But like I said, I know this band has a cult following, so if you know this band more than I do, please let me know on an album that you might think I like. I have looked up that they do go through many changes, because I know John Lydon has a very, very diverse taste in music, and so he's always dipping his toes to many different things. But let me know if there's an album you think that's better than this. But who knows, maybe it'll grow on me? Don't know yet. And now we have Good Old Boys from Randy Newman. That's right, I got another Randy Newman album in the collection. And I don't know why, but guess I'm starting to become a fan in this sense, because I've really enjoyed what I've heard so far. Of course, Sail Away was great, and I have his debut as well. But here we have this album from 1974, and yep, I don't know yet. I have to re-listen to Sail Away, but this could potentially be my favorite one so far. It has this very roots rock, country rock vibe to it, and I think Randy does a good job in that field. And you know, it's supposed to be like a satire of like almost like Civil War era South, or even the South today, even to some extent. It's a very interesting album to listen to. Lyrically, it could be a lot for some people, because I do know he does drop a couple N-bombs here, and which could be seen as a bad thing, as a big negative, but you know, I don't take it. I can confidently say, really, I don't think Randy Newman is racist. It's almost like a Mark Twain sort of thing, where he's not racist, but he's just writing how people in the South talk, and it's supposed to be he is obviously condemning that. So that's what I get. So I'm not offended personally, but I can definitely see some people think it's a bit too far. But musically, I still think it's really good, and definitely worth a listen to. So yeah, another win from Randy. I talked about some Linkin Park a second ago, so why not another one? We have Minutes to Midnight. Yeah, so now I have 4 albums from Linkin Park in the collection now, and I do hope to get more, because I definitely want to really dive deep into Linkin Park at some pretty much down the line, because I've had their debut, Hybrid Theory and Meteora, for quite a long time, but never really ventured further for some reason. I don't know why. And of course, I already knew I was getting From Zero this month, but I wanted to get at least another Linkin Park album, and I went with this one. It's the 3rd album, I think, and you know what? It's a great album. Of course, you have Given Up, Bleed It Out, What I've Done, Shadow of the Day, No More Sorrow, and other tracks as well. This is again, I'm a Linkin Park fan, so I really like their sound, and it's good to have another album with Chester on vocals here. And so yeah, not much else to say, but definitely a good Linkin Park album. Alright, next up we have Billy Joel with his first album, Cold Spring Harbor. So it came out in 73, if I'm not mistaken, or 71. I actually forgot when this came out. I know it's like early 70s. I'll correct myself if I remember. But yeah, it's been a while since I picked up more Billy Joel, and I went with this album. And you know, this album has a very complex history. Of course, there's many issues with the production side, especially the mix, when they pitched them up too high. And I know there are some versions where they cut out certain elements on the original album, and you know, I'll be front. This is definitely not the original version of the album. It still has, the pitch is still off, and this version does cut out. So like, I know in Tomorrow Is Today, there's a whole orchestra portion. This does cut it out, but I got it because I might as well just get it on CD. But if anybody watching this, if there's like a bootleg version of this album where it actually sounds as close to what Billy would have wanted it to sound, then please let me know. I would like to maybe replace this one day, but I just got it because, you know, might as well, because it was there, might as well pick it up. That said, even though it's not quite that, like, it's still Billy Joel kind of still finding his voice, but I think the seeds on what Billy would do are here. You know, you still have an early classic on here with She's Got Away, which is a great song. Then you have You Can't Make Me Free, Falling of the Rain, which is good, even though, again, there are some parts that are cut out on this CD. Of course, Tomorrow's Today, still a great song. Very emotional song. Again, not his best album, but again, you can definitely tell where he's going, and I think by the next album, of course, he kind of finds it even more. So it's a very solid debut. Definitely not top tier, but there's still some good stuff. It's definitely still worth checking out if you're curious on where Billy got his start. So these next three are from the same band, and that band is Cream, which I have right here. Hopefully you can see all three of them. So we'll start with this one. We have their debut album, Fresh Cream. So I don't think this band needs an introduction because people kind of already know Cream. You know, one of the, credited as one of the first super groups. You have Eric Clapton on guitar, Jack Bruce on bass, Ginger Baker on drums. And yeah, I wanted to deep dive them, and currently this is a good time to plug it in because me and my friend Nick are doing a little mini series on Cream. As of recording this video, we only got to Disraeli Gears, so I'm not gonna talk about this album too in depth because actually I won't talk about in depth on any of these albums quite yet. So please subscribe to my friend Nick, and hopefully you'll check out those reviews when they come out. But Fresh Cream, this is definitely the most blues rock of the four albums they made. It's a very solid start. I still think there's some good songs on here, like, yeah, Spoonful is pretty good. Of course, I'm So Glad. Of course, as Toad, which is Ginger's big showcase, and As You. And this album does include other bonus tracks, like it does include I Feel Free, and it even includes their first single, Wrapping Paper, which is quite something. But still, solid album, and I already have Disraeli Gears, so I don't have it here, but of course I also bought Wheels of Fire from '68, their follow-up to Disraeli Gears. Again, I'm not going to go too in depth, I'll save it for the review, but it's interesting that this is a double album. You have disc 1, which is all studio stuff, and then you have disc 2, which is a live CD, live at the Fillmore, with only 4 tracks, and each track kind of showcases each member. Crossroads and Spoonfuls to showcase Eric, Train Time is to showcase Jack, and Toad, of course, kind of know it's about Ginger. So it's a very interesting format. And they kind of do a similar thing with their last album, Goodbye, from '69. Of course, by this point, the band had already broken up by this point, but they just released this because, they had a contract, I believe. So they had something, and the album cover is kind of fun. It's literally them being like, "All right, we're done. Goodbye." So it's kind of a fun cover, but it's a very similar structure with live and studio stuff. Of course, they decided to flip it because on Wheels of Fire, it's studio and then live, where on this album, it's live then studio, and it's a single disc. So disc 1, the side 1 is all the live stuff, and side 2 is studio stuff. So it's interesting. Of course, the CD also comes with a bonus song with Anyone for Tennis, which I believe was for a soundtrack originally. Another oddball song from them, but it is what it is. So I'm very happy that I now own all the Cream albums. I know Disraeli Gears is not here. Again, it's somewhere over there. I could have gotten it, but oh well. But still, nice to get Cream and really give them a listen to. Again, subscribe to my friend Nick. Moving on, we have some Coldplay, and this album is called Viva La Vida, or Death and All His Friends. Quite a mouthful. So yeah, I decided to check out more Coldplay. Of course, I have their first 2 albums before. There's Parachutes and Rush of Blood to the Head. And I decided to go with this album. This is their 4th album, so yeah, I skipped the 3rd. Maybe I'll fix that later, sometime down the line, but I don't know why. I decided to go with this one for some reason, because I heard it's a pretty good album from them. And you know what? Yeah. Again, I'm starting to really dig Coldplay. I know they get a lot of crap for some reason, but I'm digging them, and that's all that matters. And there's some good songs on here. You have Cemeteries of London, which is pretty good. Lovers in Japan. The title track, Viva La Vida. Then you have Death and All His Friends, which is a great song. Yeah, I just really dig their kind of chill, kind of, not really chill, but yeah, there's definitely a vibe here that I like. And of course, Chris Martin, really like his vocal style. I don't know why, it just works for me. Again, people might disagree with me, but it's my collection, so it's all that matters. But there you go. Yeah, not a whole lot else to say, but hey, maybe we'll check out more Coldplay later. And now we have another example of bootlegs coming in clutch. We have Buckingham Nicks, of course notable for being an early recording of Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks prior to joining Fleetwood Mac. This came out in '73 if I remember correctly. And this album never officially was released on CD. I don't know why, but for some reason this album has just never been put on a CD. So you're probably wondering, how the hell do I have this here? Like I said, bootlegs come in clutch. And so I guess some kind of small company decided to actually put it on a CD. Polydor? Like I don't know if that's the company or not. But yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's kind of a similar story with All Man and Woman. But yeah, it's very cool to actually have this on CD, because I thought for sure I was going to have to find a record copy in order to own it. But no, here it is. So, me, Nick, Scott, and Jason reviewed this album on Nick's channel. It's part of our Fleetwood Mac series. And I remember really digging the album. And I did re-listen to the album again, and I do think it's a pretty strong album. Definitely very good curiosity if you're interested on, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey before. Crying in the Night, Without a Leg to Stand On, Crystal's pretty good. Don't Let Me Down Again, Frozen Love. Some very good songwriting, and again, the guitar playing is really good, of course, and Stevie and Lindsey sound good vocally. Album cover, not that great, I must say. Stevie just looks confused, and Lindsey's trying way too hard to be sexy, which is not the only thing he tries way too hard on. That aside, still, if you can find this bootleg on for your CD collection, hey, go for it. But if you want to get it on record, that's fine too. And now we have a 2-in-1 CD. This is for the band Wishbone Ash, and it includes their albums Locked In and New England. So I have checked out a little bit of Wishbone Ash before. I have their first album, and I do have Argus. Almost blinked there. But I saw this, and I thought, might as well give more, listens to Wishbone Ash, because I really do dig their sound. Kind of a good, kind of bluesy, a bit of hard rock, maybe a bit of progressive rock from time to time. That said, none of this stuff is proggy at all. But still, some good guitar playing. Of course, they're one of the bands that kind of pioneered the twin guitars that many bands would follow with. So Locked In, solid album. I did like songs like Rest in Peace, Moonshine, Trust in You, Say Goodbye was pretty solid too. And then New England kind of has a more commercial sound, which I think is why I might prefer that one a bit more. But Mother of Pearl, Runaway, Onward Bound, Lonely Island, it's just pretty strong. Again, nothing really amazing, I will say, honestly. Both these albums are both pretty well done. Production's pretty good, vocals are solid enough. But yeah, again, let me know if there's any more Wishbone Ash albums I should check out. Again, I have Wishbone Ash, the debut, and I do have Argus, but now I have these two. So again, let me know if there's any others to check out. And now we have two from the same band, and the band is Traffic. So we'll start with their first album. This is called Mr. Fantasy. And of course, Traffic, the two, I think there's usually two members that get brought up a lot. Of course, you have Dave Mason on guitar, and then you have Steve Winwood, of course. And this is their first album, kind of a mixture of blues and psychedelic rock. And I'm going to be honest, not quite a fan of this album. I don't know, I feel like the psychedelic elements don't quite work for me. Just kind of meanders sometimes, and just not memorable to my ears. There are some good songs. I'm not going to say there's nothing on here that I didn't like, or nothing on here that I did like, I should say. You know, Dear Mr. Fantasy is a great song. Dealer is pretty solid, was pretty okay. Giving It to You, and I'm trying to remember if there's another one, but I'm blanking already. But yeah, it's an okay album, but I don't know, I didn't quite gel with that one. But this one, however, we have their 1974 release, When the Eagle Flies, and this to me was way better. I really enjoyed this album. It kind of has a more soulful vibe to it. On Wikipedia, I think it said there's progressive rock on here. I don't know if I would go that far, but there's definitely some great melodies, great vocals from Steve. I think Steve sounds great on this album, and there's some good keyboard playing on this as well, and even some great bass playing. And the bass playing on here really took me by surprise. And I've heard not many people talk about this album. This is kind of one of their more lesser known albums, and I'm like, wow, this is really strong. Like, this is probably a highlight from this haul, to be honest. But again, you can let me know your opinion on this album. Yeah, again, it's a really I'm kind of mumbling right now, but still very, very much surprised by this one. Definitely worth a listen if you're not quite into the psychedelic blues like me, but you want something a bit more easy listening, but still has some good songs on here. So this was a big thumbs up. And now we have some more weather reports. This is called Tail Spinnin'. I mean, I'm going to be sounding like a broken record if I haven't been already throughout this video. But, you know, I'm a big Weather Report fan now. Like, they're still my all-time favorite jazz fusion band. And, yep, so far I've not heard a bad album, and this is definitely not a bad album right here. Again, the playing on here is just top-notch. From all the members, the great keyboard playing, the great bass playing, and the great horn playing. Just absolutely spectacular. Only 6 songs on here, but as usual, there's usually a note not wasted. Just very, very cool instrumentation on this one. So again, not much to say. It is instrumental stuff, so there's no vocals to judge. But still, to me, it doesn't matter. Still, top notch. And we have another band where I bought 2 albums from. We have Van de Graaff Generator. So the first one we'll talk about is this one right here. It's called Still Life. I believe it came out in 1975. Of course, Van de Graaff Generator are a band that definitely get brought up from time to time if you're a progressive rock fan. So this is a pretty good album. I think of the 2 I bought, this is probably my favorite so far. You have stuff like Pilgrims, the title track, La Rosa, and Childlike Faith and Childhood's End, and even My Room is pretty good too. Yeah, again, I don't have much else to say about it, but there's definitely some cool instrumentation on here. But I think for both these albums, they're definitely albums I probably need to spend more time with. But on first impressions, I very much am digging it. And I do dig this one too. This is called The Quiet Zone / The Pleasure Dome. And based on what I've looked up on the history, basically one of the members, their keyboard player, quit, I guess. And so they replaced him with a violin player. The violin playing is pretty good. I will say that. I will say none of the songs on here maybe aren't as strong as Still Life. But again, there's still some fine moments like Lizard's Play, the Siren Song, The Wave, Chemical World, just stuff like that. Album cover is pretty cool too. But yeah, overall my first impressions of Van de Graaff Generator, not bad. Again, don't know if I love them quite yet, but I know there's some other albums I should check out. One album in particular is Pawn Hearts. Hopefully I said that right. But some people have said that's one of their best albums, so we'll see. Maybe we'll find that at some point. And yet another, and this is the last one, another band where I bought 2 albums from them this month, and that band is Uriah Heep. So we'll talk about this one. We have Firefly. And this is the first album with their, then lead singer John Lawton. I believe that's his name. He was kind of the replacement for David Byron after he had left the band. And yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I enjoy Uriah Heep quite a bit. Always dug him a lot, and so I wanted to check out more. And yeah, this album in particular, very good. There's still some good heavy tracks on here, some really great organ playing and great guitar work on this, and even the vocals from John, really good. I really dig his vocals. You have stuff like The Hanging Tree, Who Needs Me, the title track, Do You Know, Wise Men, and some other tracks that I'm blanking at the moment, but it's definitely a very cool album. And I do love the album cover too. I like that kind of fantasy sort of thing. Definitely fits the theme, I think. So yeah, very happy with this one. And this next one, we have Innocent Victim, another very good album, and kind of interesting snake design, but I do know it's one of those albums with two covers. The US cover, I don't know if you can see, but that's the US cover, just a bunch of live photos. Once again, still you have John Lawton on vocals, and definitely has a much more clean, I guess, commercial sound than on the previous albums. I still think it works good. Keep On Riding's really nice, Flying High, Free Me is a good one, The Dance. Yeah, it's another pretty strong album. So I'm definitely glad I found them, because when I go to record stores, I don't really find Uriah Heep that often. But it's good that I came across these. So overall, very impressed with those two albums. So definitely am going to check out more Uriah Heep in the future. And to close us out, we have Ike and Tina Turner, River Deep, Mountain High. So yeah, I mean, I bought Working Together from them couple months ago actually, and I want to get more because I mean Tina Turner's vocals are just absolutely stellar. I really love her vocals, and of course this has one of her classic tracks that she sung on, of course the title track to this. I do know there's two versions of the album. There is the original UK version, which is kind of surprising that they're an American duo, but this album was only released in UK for some time, but then later they released it in the US, and I do know they replaced one of the songs. I forgot which one it was, but that's interesting. But this is the US version. Of course you have River Deep Mountain High, but the rest of the album is still very strong. You have I Idolize You, A Fool in Love, Hold On Baby, Save the Last Dance for Me, Oh Baby. I will say the only song I'm not quite into is the last song, which is called It's Gonna Work Out Fine, which has Ike. You know, Ike sometimes does that low bass voice sometimes, and you know, in songs like their version of Proud Mary, it may have worked fine, but I don't know, it didn't really work on that song in particular. It kind of felt cringy. So yeah, that's the only downside, but still, everything else, very great. Good R&B, good soul album, and again, Tina just absolutely kills it as usual. So to Tina, rest in peace. And then as for Ike, burn in hell. And there you have it. That is all the CDs I bought throughout the month of November. Definitely a lot of good stuff here as usual. And in the comments below, you can let me know your thoughts on any of these albums. I look forward to reading them. And of course, you can also comment below, again, your thoughts on the new background here. Like I said, I do hope to expand upon it as we move forward. You also let me know if you think of the mic, if the mic sounds fine, or should I stick with the clip-on. You can let me know that too. But overall, hopefully you had fun here as I usually do. And until then, I will see you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye for now.